Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to Happy Hoya-Days. Today is our very last live Hoya that I have here in my house. I do have one other cutting. It is a very small cutting of a linearis. Not sure if that one's going to make it. It doesn't even have any leaves on the cutting right now, so it wasn't really worth showing on camera. I'd be happy to talk about that in another video if it does start to recover a little bit, but pretty much this is the last of my Hoyas, so sadly we are coming to the very end here. As I mentioned yesterday, I'm still a little bit under the weather, so if my voice sounds a little bit deep or scratchy, it's just the tail end of a cold. I'm completely fine, so just forgive me for that. If you've enjoyed Happy Hoya-Days and all of this Hoya-related content, don't forget to hit subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you're notified of all of my future videos, and come back for some more plant-related content in the month of January. So without further ado, let's get into today's Hoya. This one is my pride and my joy, the biggest Hoya that I have, one that is just doing so well in my house. It is my Hoya Bella. So as you can see, huge plant, doesn't really even fit into the frame with me. This one just does so well for me in my house. You can see it's growing a little bit more on one side than the other. That's just, it's sitting on a shelf in a corner and it grows down towards the light. So it's not a big deal if you are growing a plant in a corner. If one side starts to kind of die out, you can rotate it, but I don't, because the way it's on that shelf, I choose to just let it grow and drape over that one side. So since this one is so big, I'm going to put it down for a little bit. I will be picking it up and referring back to it a couple of times here. So a little bit about the Hoya Bella. It's actually native to Burma and the Himalayas. So a little bit colder region, somewhere that's not quite our normal tropical climate, although that certainly is a tropical climate still. Maybe not so much as that South Pacific or Malaysia, that kind of area. One that actually does prefer a little bit different climate. The flowers on this one, I actually have the privilege of showing you in person. This one has been a non-stop bloomer for me since I've brought it to my house. They are white with the pink centers. Hopefully you can see that I even have two peduncles here on this one. I've got another one here, and I actually have an unopened Hoya bloom right here. So hopefully you can see that beautiful little star shape, the waxy flowers where it gets its name from, and then the beautiful full blooms here. A little bit more about the care of the Bella. This one actually has some of those thinner leaves, and so this has been one that I have watered a little bit more frequently. I know some people will say to never let it dry out in between waterings. I live pretty close to that guideline. I might let it dry out for a day or two just if I've been a little bit busy and neglected, and it hasn't really suffered from that, but I pretty much try to keep it as soon as it's starting to dip into that dry category. I will go ahead and water it. It is in really bright indirect light here in my house. It's in a corner between a south and a west facing window, and it actually has begun to tendril down into that south facing window. So it's trying to get even more light than I'm providing it, and it just grows in that direction. I give it a little slight rotation if I notice it's growing more one way than the other, but it enjoys that really bright light. As far as getting the Bella to bloom, for me, it has been a very prolific bloomer, one that I've had no trouble getting to bloom. Maybe it had that little adjustment period from the greenhouse to my house, but overall, it has been pretty much in constant bloom since I bought it this summer. I know a few people have said this is a stubborn bloomer for them, one that they struggle getting to bloom, or the blooms will blow out and they will die before they even have a chance to fully form. I've noticed that tends to happen for me if I've missed watering for too long. So if it's gone a couple of days without any water, the plant itself doesn't suffer, but if I've been neglecting it a little bit and it just needs some more water, the buds and the blooms that are not already in bloom will begin to dry up and fall off. So if you're struggling with that, you might actually go ahead and try giving it just a little bit more frequent watering, provided you're not already overwatering it, and see if that helps a little bit. As far as other care goes, this one has been just such a fast grower for me. I have taken so many cuttings from this plant. I have given away so many cuttings. As far as propagating this one goes, I take a cutting maybe a few inches down, maybe several leaves, and I stick it in a glass of water, and within 2 weeks I have a full system of roots and a cutting that I feel comfortable passing on to somebody else and knowing that it will survive. So once again, the Hoya Bella, one of my personal favorites, my pride and joy, one that has been just a prolific grower for me. If you love the long, viney, drapey look, especially if you have a spot where you can hang it or put it on a shelf and just let it grow down, this one has put on so much growth for me. And like I said, it's been my most prolific bloomer. I did forget to mention that scent on these, I know a couple people have said they're slightly scented. I've never been able to catch any scent on these particular Hoyas, but maybe that's just the growing environment that I have it in, or maybe it's just to my nose. But either way, it's not a strong fragrance if you do happen to catch that fragrance. And I think that sums up the Hoya Bella, one that I am so happy to have in my house, my biggest, my most beautiful. She is my pride and joy. Thank you guys again so much for joining me for Happy Hoya-Days. Come back tomorrow for Christmas Eve. I've decided to make a little wish list to Santa. Some Hoyas that are still on my wish list, ones that I hope to get my hands on very, very soon. So come back tomorrow and see which Hoyas I actually still have on my wish list, and hopefully Santa brings me in the new year. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.